Greetings, Quester, and welcome to Tiny Meeples' Big Talk with Matt and Richard.
Hello and welcome to this Tiny Meeples Big Talk, where we are answering yet another big question that literally nobody is asking.
Really?
Yeah, nobody.
Well, I'm surprised because it's really going to affect people, the answers to this. I mean, people will be thinking differently about their daily life.
This is it. It is an important question. It's just not one that I think most people have thought before.
Well, I suppose there have to be certain circumstances where it would be relevant, because not everybody works in an office.
This is correct. So today, we are answering that question. Which are the worst comic book characters to work in an office or call centre?
Right.
And in my head, I'm kind of thinking more, not like a small office, but you're thinking of, like a larger sort of business where maybe you've got like those cubicle type offices, or
I was thinking
where
a bit
lots of
like
people
that.
are working together in a similar environment. It could be a call centre, it could be telemarketing, it could be some other kind of business.
Yeah, so I had a few thoughts about, things that I've never worked in an office myself, so I've had to kind of imagine, first of all, what it would be like. Yeah, so that's basically the big flight of fancy that's in this.
Are you affected by this? If not,
Yeah.
Can you imagine what it would feel like if you were?
Yeah, so that's it. So I'm just kind of thinking, if I was in an office, who would I not like to see working on the desk next to me? And I think I just have to say, before we start with any of these, and I think this guy is going to be the worst in a lot of lists. I think the worst one for me to see would be Dog Welder. The same as...
Funnily enough,
yeah.
I didn't write him down on my list.
Because he was so bad in that other list that
Yeah.
we did. And it's like... There's a lot of different things that people could be doing in an office, but they're not welding dogs to people. And man, he doesn't talk, he doesn't show his face, so that would be a very bad one to work with. But as I say, I don't know what it's so much like working in an office. I mean, from what I've seen on TV, I just imagine it being there's lots of strange goings on and a boss that keeps saying that's what she said all the time. But then that's
working with me, really, isn't it?
Yeah, this podcast has given me an insight into that. So. But Matt has actually done a lot of research this week. I mean, it's basically been a montage of research, hasn't it? Like, been in late nights in libraries, blowing dust off books, and he knows so much about this subject that I'm just going to listen and really just react to what he's saying. So,
I mean, there is a couple of characters that aren't on my list that I did actually think of after I'd completed my list. One of them I wasn't going to mention, actually. That was Dog Welder, because that was from our worst comic book characters to live with.
Yeah.
And I think he's probably one of the worst people for any lists.
Yeah.
Because having someone that goes around welding dogs to people's faces is just not a nice person to be around in most situations.
Well, my life is certainly different since you mentioned to me about Dog Welder. I did actually look him up, and it's just so funny on the Wikia. That's got his entry, and it's just like a list of his equipment, welding gear, a list of weapons, dogs, and then it's just like the description: he welds dogs to people. That's basically
it's fairly self-explanatory. I mean, in many ways, his name states very clearly everything you need to know about him.
Yeah.
But moving on from Dog Welder, another DC character, Swamp Thing.
Yeah, that would be pretty stinky.
Imagine working in a confined office equipment, the aircon's down, and there's Swamp Thing stinking the place out of vegetation.
We watched a film that had him in the other day, and he was massive as well. So it's like he'd take up most of the office, I think. Yeah.
So I'm going to go through a lot of these kind of briefly just to get your reaction. The second one is a Marvel character, and I think this is probably the first one that most people will bring to mind. Jubilee from the XMen.
Jubilee, right.
We know that she has pyrotechnic abilities, but she's generally very bad around equipment.
Right, so that's the aspect.
Yeah, thinking, like, you imagine you've had a really long, hard day, you've been writing up that report that your boss has been on your case for, you've just about got it finished, she comes past and accidentally blows up your computer.
Yeah, see, I was thinking more of the actual powers. So I would think, like in X-Men terms, like, Gambit might accidentally touch something and it blows up a few seconds later, he's been on the copier.
Yeah, but that would be deliberate if Gambit did that to you, and that's a naughty Gambit.
It is. Yeah, but he is mischievous anyway. So.
He is, and he is one of my favourite comic book characters, because I just really enjoyed his character in the comics and in the cartoons that I used to watch as a kid.
So,
but it would be very deliberate with him. Jubilee would blow things up by accident.
Yeah, so Jubilee just being basically a klutz.
Yeah.
That's more than her powers, it's just her personality.
Second one, and actually in some ways I'm expanding this to most characters with this power. But just one specific example, Dr. Psycho.
Okay.
From the DC universe. Now, he's one of Wonder Woman's villains.
Okay.
He's a powerful telepath. He's got the power of mind control. He's also harbours an intense hatred of women.
Well, there's a human resources disaster right there,
Yeah.
like with all of that.
You just kind of think, he'd just be a terrible person to his female co-workers.
Yeah, he would.
You can imagine that he wouldn't help female customers. You can imagine him particularly using his mind control ability to force women to buy things that they don't really need or want because he just hates women and needs to shift some product.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, and when the female boss comes from corporate, like, he'll just make her walk out the window or something,
It's just not going to be a nice person to have in the office environment. And
no, it would just be a bad environment for everybody, really.
Yeah. Another one, from Marvel, Daken.
Daken. Okay.
He is Wolverine's son.
Right.
And this is nothing to do with claws. This is everything to do with the fact that he can use superhuman pheromones to manipulate other people's emotions.
Right, so for the same reason,
very much similar
there's a few people that those kind of powers would be very
For example, it's shown that he can use his powers to make people afraid.
Right.
You imagine him sort of like trying to cower the workforce.
Yeah, or if he's doing a PowerPoint presentation and he wants you all to react.
Also, in a weird way, he can cause sexual arousal by using these pheromones.
Again, HR.
And I just imagine him as kind of being like the office creep. Hanging around the water cooler, hitting on people, and they're powerless to refuse his advances.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, don't be in an office environment with him.
Going over back to DC Comics now, the Clock King. Are you familiar with this character?
No.
He's one of Batman's villains.
Right.
He has no powers, but he can sense patterns and on the temporal plane. He's got
Sounds like a power.
He's got the ability to basically perceive and manage time to a superhuman degree. For example, in fights, no one can land a hit on him because he knows exactly the amount of time it takes for an enemy to punch him or kick him or something.
Okay.
So he just dodges out of the way in time every time.
So do you think he would just be like over punctual and really annoying?
I can imagine him being the worst supervisor ever.
Yeah.
Because he'd be like, this report could have been done 5 seconds ago. Where have you been wasting your time? And just being on your case all the time.
You could tell that you're not going to be able to do the report on time, even before you started it, because
you've been mucking about and checking your Facebook and status and perhaps watching a Meddlesome Meeples video. There's so many things that you could be doing to waste a bit of work time. So there we are. The Clock King would be a terrible supervisor.
He would be, and employee, I think.
Next one, we're going back to the XMen again.
Yeah, a lot of them would be terrible in an office.
Which X-Men do you think is going to be next on my list?
I was thinking of like Wolverine just for his feralness, basically. I mean, it was okay as a limo driver in Logan, but he didn't react incredibly well to when people were slightly rude to him. So I imagine him like in the complaints department or something. I imagine that being a disaster. But yeah,
being pulled up for calling somebody bub 10th day in a row.
Yeah, well, that would be on an easy day for him.
I think I would much rather work with Wolverine than this next guy I've got on my list from the X-Men.
So who's that?
This is Maggot.
Maggot.
A mutant called Maggot.
Yeah.
Now, the reason he's on my list, he has a hollow digestive cavity, basically, and that houses a pair of semi-sentient slugs. One's called Eenie, the other one's called... Meanie.
Okay. What's Marnie and Mo? That's the
No one asks about Marnie and Mo, or you do go to HR. But these semi-sentient slugs bore their way out of his torso, right? Yeah. And they use an enzyme to digest basically anything that's in front of them. So just imagine you sat there, it's lunchtime, you've got a disappointing ham salad in front of you, and let's face it, I mean, when is a ham salad or sandwich anything other than disappointing?
It's got the word salad in it, so...
Yeah, and the word ham. Actually, when it comes to ham, I'm with the vegetarians.
It's not a Vindaloo, though.
But they come out and they digest things at super speed. So you're sat there, this guy's in front of you, he's got his, couscous or whatever in front of him on the table. And all of a sudden, these 2 slugs burst out of his stomach, giant slugs, go through his meal at super speed, and bearing in mind that they can probably they go through anything. They go through his tray, they go through the table. It's destructive. It's disgusting. I mean, I support his right to have these slugs, no questions asked. But I know it's going to put me off my food. And if it's a disappointing ham sandwich in front of me, I'm already not going to be that inclined to eat it. So there we are. Maggot.
He would have to go home for his lunch, wouldn't he? Really.
Yeah, but he doesn't. That's the thing. He doesn't. He just does it in public because he's got his right. And if you complain about it, he complains to HR that you're, repressing his right as a mutant.
I always did think that some of the X-Men, they can't all have amazing powers. Some of them must have just something that is a real bind or is kind of gross, and that kind of proves it.
Well, he was briefly an X-Men, and if memory serves, he tended to eat alone a lot.
Well, as long as he did. Well, yeah. He's right. Yeah, another HR thing. You can't expect him to just leave just because he's disgusting.
Now, the next one is on a similar vein, but this is a DC character. This guy's called Matter-Eater Lad.
Matter-Eater Lad?
Yep.
That's a great name.
He will eat anything and everything, and he doesn't need sentient slugs to do it.
As long as it's matter, I suppose.
Yeah. But he will eat glass, he'll eat lava, anything. I mean, at one point, he literally ate his way to freedom. When him and his team were in prison, and he tunnelled through by just eating everything.
Right.
No, but just imagine you're there, you're trying to get your work done. It's been a long day. You reach out for your stapler and it's gone because Matter-Eater Lad got snackish and he's been through and he's at all your stationery.
Yeah, that would be pretty terrible. On that kind of vein, I mean, I wasn't thinking of ones that are quite as obscure as you. I was just thinking of some of the well-known ones, which would be a bit awful to work with. And I was thinking of Magneto for those similar lines because, where's all the metal?
Actually,
where's all the paper
in some
clips?
ways, that'd be really useful though, because you'd be like, "Oh, I need a paperclip." Oh, I know. They'll be swirling around Magneto
while he hovers in his office. Yeah, that kind of thing. Also, it would be kind of terrifying if it's the Michael Fassbender version because. He just seems scary in those. I mean, I know technically the Ian McKellen one is pretty bad as well, but I don't know what it is about him. So I would just imagine like paper clips and staplers just floating out of my office if he needs them, and that becoming very annoying.
Yeah. Right, this is another DC character, and I think most of my remaining ones, bar one, are. This is Mr. Nobody from the Doom Patrol.
Mr. Nobody.
Yeah, and his power is that he slowly drains the sanity of people he's around.
Well, that's just any boss.
I was going to say, most people would argue that every office already has somebody like that.
Yeah, they do.
He's actually got the certificate to prove it.
Yeah, alright, so if you know that that's going to be the case, then basically don't recruit him and put him in cubicles around other people.
As we say, every office probably already has somebody like that, and if you're thinking, well, my office doesn't, well, it's probably you.
Oh, no.
The next one, okay? This is a guy called Arm Fall-Off Boy. This is
great.
Another DC character. His real name is Floyd Belkin.
Right, arm fall off. So, does his arm fall off?
Not just his arm. He's from the 30th century, and basically he detaches his limbs so that he can then use them as a blunt weapon.
Okay,
so he'll take his own arm off and beat you over the head with it, sort of thing.
Is that better than just carrying a weapon, or I suppose
no, it's not.
Oh, right, okay.
But the thing I was thinking here is, what if this guy takes it into his head to liven the office up? It's a bit of a prankster. So he goes around. You're there. You're trying to get your work done. You rush. You've got a schedule. You open up a drawer to get a new pen or something, and there's just
an arm just flies out and strangles you.
or you go at lunchtime. You're hungry. You've been working hard. You go to get your lunchbox. You open up your lunchbox. Your food's missing, and there's just a hand in there.
Yeah. Or even if he just leaves his hand on your disappointing ham salad. I mean, that's again like maggot. That's just going to make you not want to have it.
That's right. It's just not going to be a nice experience working with Arm Fall Off Boy. And this is another one of DC's more useless and gross characters.
I'm quite good at that.
I'm quite impressed with the amount of these type of characters DC have got. That takes us on to our next one, Red B. Real name, Richard Raleigh.
Right.
He has no powers. He has no skills.
What is it with DC and no powers?
He has bees.
He has bees.
He has in his
So
belt.
he's into apiary.
He has his weapon is that he has trained bees in his belt. Right. Now, you may think, well, that's not, how is that going to affect me at work? Well, just imagine that there's someone in your office that's allergic to bees.
Yeah, basically, yeah, that would just be a hazard, wouldn't it?
Or he takes them out every now and then to air. You've got bees flying around. The buzzing's annoying you.
Or
His belt's gone, so his pants are falling down.
Well,
HR are coming round to tell him, how many times have we have told you not to bring those bees in? Please put some pants on.
Yeah, put your pants back on as well.
So there's genuine reasons for concern with Red B.
Or bees just come in to steal your stapler or something. Like if he needs it, then a swarm of bees just descends on your desk, and then there's like less stuff when they leave. So.
And you're not going to argue with the swarm, are you?
No. Well, you wouldn't know which bee to argue with first.
So we're going to go on to the last Marvel character now, Zeitgeist.
Okay.
Or real name Axel Clooney. Now he spits acid. Right, he's got this cavity in his mouth which creates this acid and it's just oozing into his mouth, so he can drool with it and etc. And I was just thinking how dangerous he would be if he had a cold. You know, because normally the worst thing that happens if someone comes into work with a cold is you try and keep your distance, and they may sneeze on you. But with this guy, if he sneezes on you, you've got acid in your face or on your arm. It's not nice for a work environment.
And some workplaces are a bit strict with sick days. And you would really want him to not use up all his sick days, because then he'll have a little bit of a sniffle and he'll come in anyway. He'll try to brave it. A lot of the time, companies encourage that kind of thing. But it could be deadly with him. It
really could. It's not a good environment to be in when someone could sneeze acid all over you at any moment. And that is really going to interfere with your work habits. I mean, how can you really focus on, dealing with some complaining customer when you know that at any point someone could sneeze your arm off?
Yeah, so Zeitgeist is there going,
Everyone ducks, everyone's down. There we are. And you can't even make the guy wear a helmet to cover this, because as soon as he's had his first sneeze, the next one's going to get you.
Yeah.
It's just unpredictable. Speaking of unpredictability, the last hero on my list, and again a DC character, the Infectious Lass. Her real name, Drora Sept. She's she's an alien hero from the planet Somatar. Now, her body, like the rest of her species, is home to thousands of infectious diseases.
She's got Mr. Burns syndrome.
The body of these aliens are home to colonies of microorganisms. Now, they are immune to those diseases themselves, but they carry those diseases within them and can infect other people.
Right, she's a carrier of everything.
So she has a certain amount of control over this. But she can't fully control it, as has been shown that she's accidentally infected other heroes before.
That's even worse.
She's probably done as much harm in her career as a hero as she has good by the amount of diseases she's accidentally infected people.
Like, even if she can fight crime, she should just stay in. I mean, there are other heroes to fight crime.
So who aren't going to infect you with something terrible and some sort of horrific alien disease.
Yeah, if you'd pick the name Infectious Lass. It just sounds terrible.
Well, I mean, she's a nice girl. It's not her fault that she's going to give you an infection.
No. Okay, I'm not going to say anything about that.
So many jokes Richard's not making right now.
Yeah, just be thankful.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a pretty good list. I mean, there's some very obscure ones. I feel like I've learnt a lot here. I think another very bad one would be Deadpool, because imagine him being in the next cubicle alone.
It would be very hard to get any work done, wouldn't it?
And he wouldn't do any work unless it's funny.
Yeah.
It's like, if there was some work he wasn't supposed to be doing, then he would do it. He would stay up all night doing that work.
But that's how you'd get him to do your work, wouldn't you? You'd go around, Deadpool, you better not write that report that I need to do and get ready for tomorrow.
Yeah.
You're going to be in so much trouble if you do my report. If I find my report on my desk in the morning.
Plus, if he's in a cubicle, he will break the fourth wall.
And if he goes in there with a unicorn, leave him alone. Leave him alone.
That's all we can say.
Yeah. So, this is my list of worst characters to work with in any kind of office environment. I'd very much like to know what you think and who you would least like to work with.
Do you know any more obscure than the ones that Matt has done? Like, any more obscure than Arm Fall Off Boy? We'll use that as, like, the benchmark.
That's the benchmark
yeah.
for obscure characters. Please, I'd love to hear more about these kind of characters. If there's any more mainstream characters, because my list, apart from Jubilee and Dakin, is probably fairly obscure. But if you've got some more popular ones, throw them at us as well. Basically, what are your thoughts? Tell us those thoughts. And
It's imperative that you do, for some reason.
Drop by and see us on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram and just share some thoughts with us. In the meantime, stay meddlesome.
And be careful. If you get an office job and you see any of these people, it's probably best to move on.
Yeah, just work on your resume.
Tell us what you think in the comment section below. Farewell, Quester. To find out about other productions by the Meddlesome Meeples, then check out our channel or rendezvous with us at meddlesomemeeples.com. Until next time, Quester, farewell and keep thine axe sharp.